Greetings, everybody. Here we go again. Welcome to tonight's address, which conveys the second part of a larger statement titled, quote, Gay Liberation at a Psychological Crossroads, a commentary on the future of homosexual ideology and establishment of the Institute for Contemporary Iranian Psychoanalysis in 4 parts, delivered in honor of the 3rd anniversary of the Institute, unquote. The first section of which, quote, the golden opportunity to birth a homosexually centered psychoanalysis, I gave last month. Tonight I will present the subsequent installment, which is called, quote, the new ethical importance of psychological responsibility in furthering the next stage of homosexual emancipation and in founding the ICUP, unquote. With this 4-part commentary, I will outline a perspective for considering current liberatory challenges and opportunities facing us as gay and lesbian persons and a community in relation to the founding of the Institute for Contemporary Iranian Psychoanalysis. This is not to imply, in regard to the organized, same-sex loving minority, that other kinds of identities, persons, or viewpoints are not valid or important here or elsewhere, only that I will be speaking as a gay-identified homosexual, focusing on gay topicality and signification. I should also point out that I will be doing so as a male homosexual. Therefore, my comments will, in part, more aptly pertain to gay men, but I hope not to the exclusion of an equitable lesbian appreciation. And my apologies for the inevitable gender bias that is present in these remarks. It actually seems to me that sapphic women's procreative possibilities may realistically be of even greater significance than those of their gay male peers. And I hope that in the future, this sublime gynecoid potentiality can be increasingly directly explored and most richly activated. I might also mention that I have chosen to prepare these remarks in writing beforehand and then read them to you here, not only to have the material well thought out and clearly documented in an easy distributive form, but more so through such an appropriately scripted opportunity to somewhat queerly invoke rhetorically, with vigorous thought and sincere feeling, a powerfully stimulative conception of gay psychological valuation, provocatively unprecedented in conventional social discourse, and in so doing, to accordingly undergo, with everyone here today, an important and meaningful public ritual, the witnessed incantational performance of that pioneering invocational statement. As well, I should let you know that this talk will be pretty intellectual, in the sense of trying to consider and handle ideas seriously and responsibly, but not too seriously, I hope. And in that sense, the discussion will get fairly dense, even though I have tried to convey its ideational expression in plain English as much as possible. Nonetheless, due to this cumulative intellectual substantiality, it could be a little taxing to keep up with. So I will attempt to read the following statement with that in mind, in order to assist the thoughtful listener in better following along. This is also a major reason why we have provided you with a hard copy of the talk when you came in tonight, in case referencing it as I speak may additionally aid in its improved comprehension. Gay liberation at a psychological crossroads. The new ethical importance of psychological responsibility in furthering the next stage of homosexual emancipation and in founding the ICUP. In terms of historical time, the most important civilizational story of our current era, in my opinion, is and has been for a considerable period one about the humanization of subjectivity, by which I mean the realizational growth of valuable personhood. This broad humanistic development of individual authority has been evolving over the past several centuries in a deepening struggle with the prior morality of selfhood as defined and controlled by forces and sources external to it. And to this point, the new valuation has succeeded sufficiently that its basic rubric is now enshrined in the constitutions and laws of most nations and the United Nations under such ideas as, this means in quotes, human rights, human dignity, and so on, although the historic contention between these clashing traditions continues unabated throughout the world today. I would like to suggest that much of the impetus for and perpetuation of this innovative historical direction has been due to those people wishing to freely explore the meaning and experience of what we might call an alternative sexual lifestyle while under extendedly intolerant conditions. And when that vernal ethical direction had progressed significantly in influential effect, yet still had not liberalized the general social tolerance adequately enough to allow for what today would be described as a, quote, out gay person, unquote, the particular conditions were gestationally ready for the grassroots birth of a specifically homosexual liberation movement, which in consequence has been a substantial presence among humanity now for about the past 150 years. During that notable time, we homosexuals have gradually evolved a name and an identity for ourselves that nurture and inform the humanization of being a same-sex loving person, of dignity, value, and contributive creative potential. We have, by way of many generations, gone through a long journey of gradual self-awakening and discovery, from initial musings about who we were, variety, alternate understandings and terminologies, to today's proud and self-respecting lesbian and gay-identified peoples. The power, importance, and influence of this cumulative authorizational achievement can hardly be underestimated, as it dramatically demonstrates the new ethic of personal authenticity and self-determination reciprocally operating within a supportive collective context. Thus, to be securely homosexually identified today is to be a walking beacon of inspiration for everybody to better awaken the spirit of independent truth within, a truly radical spirit in the political sense, a signal, redistributive spirit which, if it were finally to accomplish its actualizational aims successfully enough, it seems to me, would see the conclusive extirpation of human societies and so-called, quote, civilizations, unquote, that, no matter how seemingly sophisticated and tolerant, are actually still steeped in barbaric brutality and violent exploitation, both physical and mental. Because homosexuality has been, and is ongoingly today, so fiercely attacked and scapegoated, it enacts a brave heroism to integrate a solid gay identity one that amounts, symbolically, to a classic initiatory death and rebirth experience, as, for example, perhaps most notably described academically by Vivian Cass's 6-stage model of homosexual identity formation. One falls into an untethered state of painful confusion about the orientational intent and meaning of one's genital development at a certain influential point as one grows up being socialized in a homophobic, hetero-triumphalist culture, thereby entering on a self-questioning, quote, dark night of the soul, unquote, as the Jungians might say, to eventually reach a reformational reconstitution of essential self-comprehension at a better integrated level of fruitful gay being and functioning. In this decisive way is activated an internal alchemy of elemental transformational improvement, and one moves categorically from condemnatorily feeling like a darkling outcast from the succoring company of the divine spark of all meaning and significance to the redeeming dawn of a greater and more true tie felt between oneself and that transcendent valuation within, a regenerated bond assuredly knotted in a salutarily clarified homosexual identity. Thus so do modern gay people enact an age-old shamanic heritage by becoming and being soundly, identifiably gay. But I would argue that that necessary transformative journey is not altogether finished to a sufficient extent with the securing of a good homosexual identification, which is rather like the first large step on a longer path to requisitely more complete self-fulfillment. We who are same-sex loving live in an overarching societal world that pretty much continues to ignore and denigrate us terribly. And in my opinion, the best of various worthy ways to actively combat the nefarious influence which a cruelly bigoted system ongoingly exerts against our self-esteem and integrity is to keep growing and deepening oneself as a homosexual person in association with like-minded others in the most direct manner possible. Further, just as insidious as the venomous impact of current social bias on maintaining and expanding gay self-vibrancy is the difficult fact that all of us have probably grown up in families that were ideologically based in anti-homosexual attitudes, buttressed by an entire social world so odiously polluted, and we have likely absorbed much intellectual and emotional poison therefrom that can badly thwart good self-care and maturational progress throughout life, especially as such internal problems resonate with ongoing sociocultural prejudice while one is in a legitimate pursuit of worthy adult goals, such as stable, intimate love, and worthwhile creative achievement. This watershed problem of the incompleted journey to become fully liberatedly gay within oneself after identificationally, quote, coming out, unquote, was recently described exemplificationally in last fall's issue of the Gay and Lesbian Review Worldwide. In the reprinted remarks by gay scholar Martin Duberman upon receiving the Harvard Gay and Lesbian Caucus's Founding Father Award last June. This is what he said, quote, "You see, for me, gay liberation has always been something of a misnomer. Once you accept yourself and join a community, that isn't the equivalent of immediately establishing self-acceptance. I think it's an initial strategy, whereby the process has a chance to begin. But by signing up for wherever you place yourself in time, the Mattachine Society or Act Up, that doesn't bring with it anything like self-acceptance overnight. For me, the process, even in my